The possible impeachment of President Cyril Ramaphosa is one step closer, or not. Let us hear from Solly Moeng, political commentator. Wonderful to have you back, Solly.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, Chris. Lovely to see you too.
I'm sure you've had a good look at the composition of the Impeachment Committee. What do you think?
It's very diverse. It's very multi-party. The NC is no longer in a position to just steamroll decisions on the basis of its majority in parliament. I think it's a good thing. South Africa is learning. We are having to learn the hard way of the need to work across political parties. Of course, in that composition of 31 members, there are people who will defend Ramaphosa, and it's fine. That's their choice. And there are others who are very steadfast that he must be removed. But it's not always on the basis of ethical leadership or principle. There's also political, staking, if you want. There are people who want him to be removed because maybe it'll advance their chances towards power through coalitions. There are others who don't want him to be removed because what he did is wrong.
Do you think that their decision will ultimately be taken on a political basis or on the basis of merit?
It'll be a combination of that. There are people who are looking for an excuse to remove Ramaphosa with reason. I mean, look, he's been a very weak president. There's no doubt about it. And they want him to go at whatever cost. And there are others who will be working on principle. But they're all politicians. Politicians would always have a bit of principle that they can use for political leverage. And this is what it is.
Meanwhile, he's fighting back with a court bid to try and stop that inquiry.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because what he's really actually trying to do, especially after the Constitutional Court spoke, he is trying to use the courts, the legislature, the courts, or the judiciary, to protect him from the legislator. But as a president, as an executive, he's supposed to be accountable to the legislature. So I wouldn't know how that's going to play out. I think obviously he's kicking the ball down the road. He's trying to buy more time. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but I think Ramaphosa has always benefited from this whole thing that he's the last hope for South Africa. I have lost many friends back in 2017, leading to the 2019 elections. People who said, yeah, but this is the last hope for South Africa. Vote for him. I said, no, go. It's not true. This man is the representative of the ANC. He's the smiling face of the ANC. So saying vote for Ramaphosa, you're actually saying vote for Ramaphosa, for the ANC. Look at who sits in the top 6 in the NEC. Oh, many discredited people sit there. Those are the people you're voting for because he is the deployee. Whatever he decides on the Zuma Commission report and other stuff, he must get permission from the people who send him. He's a messenger of the party, just like all other representatives of parties in the legislature.
And he's made no secret of the fact that he puts party before country.
Yeah, no, he did. I was very upset when he said that. When he said, he'd rather be seen as a weak president than have the ANC crumble under him. And the thing is, even if you go back to those optics, to the visuals of that statement, he wasn't wearing ANC colors at the rally when he said, I'd rather be seen as a weak president. He was sitting next to the South African flag, wearing a suit and a tie as state president. He saw allegiance to the Constitution when he became president, but he dared sitting right there, look at South Africans and say, I'd rather be seen as a weak president. This is a thing, we're giving so much power to politicians in South Africa that we fear them. Or they don't fear us. We treat them like heroes, even people who've stolen from us. I mean, there are many of them who've done so much harm to South Africa. They walk into the room, we stand up, we want to be photographed with them. I don't do that. We shouldn't be doing that. So we make them feel that they're honest, they're heroes, and they're not.
That they will always be untouchable. But what would happen if President Ramaphosa were to leave before 2029?
Well, look, Mashatile is the deputy in terms of the way things work. I think he would be the acting president until the next elections. I don't know if those elections must happen in 6 months or 9 months or whether we'd wait for 2029. The ANC itself is going to elect its own president. It will not be Ramaphosa. It might be Mashatile. He's the front runner. Or it might be somebody else. The thing that I fear is that Mashatile has got all these accusations against him. Of course, none of them proven, but they are serious accusations from the activities of the so-called Alexander Mafia and all the wealth that he's amassed indirectly through sons and other relatives. And I fear that if he were to become president, he might not be friendly towards the criminal justice system. The same way that Zuma came into the presidency running away from the long arm of the law. And people like that come in there, the first thing they do is to ensure that they will weaken any part of the state that might go after them for stuff they did or they are alleged to have done in the past. So I think South Africa needs a president who's going to protect the democracy, who's going to stand for what we stand for as a country. And I'm not sure that Mashatile would be that guy, you know. So maybe we must ensure that what if he goes, if Ramaphosa goes, we trigger an early election. I don't think, of course, that's the reason we should defend Ramaphosa. I mean, South Africa is tired of presidents who don't put South Africa first ahead of it, all else.
Healthcare matters, but what matters most?
Having cover for the people who keep this business going.
Bonitas is there for you when it counts. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan.
Have you identified a better candidate? Sorry.
No, no, I have not. What I do know is that I think what part of South Africa's challenges are structural. You know, the current system, and many people have said it over time, that it places too much power in the presidency, for in the one man, one woman who occupies that position. Some people say this is, Mandela's constitution. We thought everybody who would come after Mandela would behave the way Mandela did, but we've seen that none of them did, really. None of them did. And so maybe we need to have a conversation about how much power we place in the presidency. The country's intelligence services report to a minister in the presidency, and the party that the president leads is divided, it's fractionalized. Those people should be reporting to a multi-party body that is not linked to any one political party. And we know that they have been abused. The intelligence services have been abused in the past for political factionalism. So we need to ensure that if we look back at, say, the past 32 years of South Africa's democracy, we don't repeat the same mistakes. And the power of the presidency to appoint key leaders of, SOEs and other bodies, it should be weakened. We need a country as diverse as South Africa to not rely on the goodwill or the good health of any one man or woman in politics. So multi-party democracy is what we need. Okay, so that what's happening now is good. What happened since 2024 is good. It's still these are still early days, but we cannot have any one party, irrespective of what that party is, dominating everything in South Africa. We all belong, and the minute you start having people who are going to come with extreme left or extreme right positioning, treating other people, part of the population, as not belonging, deciding who's South African, who's not South African, they can't lead this country. So we need to ensure that all South Africans look at the government of the day and see themselves in there. We want any child, even a wild blonde child, must look forward and say, you know what, I want to be a leader of this country. They mustn't say, no, you can't be because you are or you colored. We must stop this nonsense. This race thing is our biggest weakness in South Africa. We need leaders who are able to go up there and articulate the need for South Africa to work together. And knowing that race is not a place to go if you want to campaign for elections. It shouldn't be.
Talking about race, meanwhile, anti-immigrant protests have sparked urgent government talks at the union buildings to formulate a national plan to deal with the xenophobia. How can this be diffused, Solly?
Look, this is just one of the many government failures. The truth is, there are so many. It's almost like we're a bucket with lots of holes. Which hole do you close first? We should talk about Home Affairs officials, and we have, but not sufficiently. Border officials, Home Affairs officials, we either demand or accept bribes to give South Africa, to hand over South African documents, passports, IDs, driver's licenses to people who there should be serious punishment when those people are identified. But government must also work harder at closing the borders. There are many, many people who are in South Africa who shouldn't be here, but we don't know them because they are not documented. There must be a drive. There must be a process to say, okay, guys, if you're already here, we have, say, 1 year, you know, to start the process of being registered. If after 1 year you're still here and you have not been registered, we kick you out. But it's going to be hard to kick everybody out of the country, But at least we need to know who is in South Africa. Cities need to know how many people are we catering for when we budget for the next year. You can't budget if you don't know how many people you're budgeting for. The healthcare system, the education system, all the public services that South Africans want to receive, because over the years of apartheid and the past 32 years, they have been shortchanged. Now suddenly they have to share these things with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are coming from elsewhere. So I don't think South Africans are inherently xenophobic. I don't think so at all. It's a matter of having to share the data that we have with so many other people, which is not fair. I lived in France. I studied in France at a time when the economy was not doing very well, and people were blaming it on Portuguese. Lots of Portuguese people come into France. Even recently, when I was living in Switzerland, lots of Portuguese come in there, Albanians come in there, Kosovars take jobs that locals usually don't take. But when the economy is not doing well, those are the people who get blamed for taking away jobs away from locals. So I think that we are in Africa. People will come here, but they should come here legally. When they come here, they decide to stay. They should be legal. There should be no excuse. Any South African who is employed by the state who takes money to give papers to foreigners must be punished, and they must be banned forever from forever working for the state.
Mm. I want to take you back to the impeachment process. Lastly, how do you think the Democratic Alliance is going to emerge from this drama?
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Look, Jordan Hill Lewis has already said, look, we're not going to blindly support Ramaphosa. We have elections coming up. South Africa is watching the DA. The DA has for many years positioned itself as a party of principle, as a party that puts what is good for South Africa ahead of all else. But we know that previously Helen Zille, at the time when she was leader, she made it clear that they would not be voting to impeach the president. They had a deal to get into the GNU. It's been criticized amply by commentators and South Africans. Now they have an opportunity to show that they still stand for the principles they've always promoted themselves to be standing for. So it's going to be interesting. Of course, they are very careful. They say, look, we'll look at the facts, or based on the facts that come out from the impeachment inquiry, we'll make a decision. So we're waiting to see. But their role is important. They will, more than any other party, I think they're going to be watched.
Indeed. Thank you. That was Solly Moeng, political commentator, back on Biz News. Thank you so much, Solly. I'm Chris Steyn.
All right, Chris. Bye.